I got a joke for y'all. What do you give a sick bird? A tweetment!
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That's the worst joke I'll ever make in my... What's going on, guys? It's your boy Batu. Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a brand new deck profile, and if you read the title right, we got the birds up in this thing. Floowandereeze. It has been topping some locals. It's been seen at a lot of WCQs and regionals. I wanted to show you guys my version of the deck and give you guys some spicy stuff. If you're a new player and really love the old school mechanics of just regular normal summoning, this is the deck for you. If you do like this video and you want to see more content from me, aka the Link God, don't forget to hit that like, hit that sub, and let me know what's your favorite deck. I might be tackling it next in another video, but right now we got the birds. Let's go! Essentially, the Floowandereeze archetype focuses around birds, and all they do is bring out bigger birds. Your boss monster is Floowandereeze Empen, as well as Rise of the Mega Monarch. What sets this deck apart from any other deck is this set of monsters. They don't send themselves to the graveyard, they actually banish themselves, and you have the opportunity to play it on your opponent's turn. So if you're an old school player and you like it old school, this might be the best way to go. Now this version of the deck is not budget, but honestly the Floowandereeze deck is on the cheaper side. Of course the extra deck is a little bit debatable on the player, but most of the cards you can pretty much spend $200 and you'll get a perfect set of cards. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck profile. Alright guys, let's get right into the deck profile. This is my personal version. Of course, you guys can switch it up, and during the video, I'll be also telling you guys what are some budget options. So this is my current build of the deck. First off, we're going to run 3 copies of Floowandereeze and Robina. Robina's effect, on top of giving us an additional normal summon, is he, it, binary, non-binary, I have no idea. The bird will help us search for a level 4 or lower winged beast monster. Usually you'll be searching for Eaglin. Eaglin's effect, on top of giving us an additional normal summon, he will help us search for a level 7 or higher winged beast monster. You also run 3 of those bad boys. Then we have 1 copy of Talkin, as well as 3. They have special effects, 1 banishes and 1 returns. Our big bird monster is Floowandereeze Empen. Empen is basically the big boy. It's the King Emperor Penguin. Yes, sir. Empoleon is the shit, so don't get mad at me. Anyway, Empen's effect is it'll negate all the effects of all attack position monsters that your opponent controls. You also have a Book of Moon effect, and then this guy will actually half your opponent's life points by discarding half an attack of a monster by discarding a card. Essentially, Empen is the main guy, and this guy will help us search for Floowandereeze spell or trap. That's pretty much the entire Floowandereeze line. You could run Snow in this version. I personally don't. I don't see the effectiveness of it, but you can decide to side deck it if you want. Now the next couple cards are just some couple of extenders and more consistency pieces. First I run 1 Harpy's Harpist. Essentially Harpy's Harpist, when she is sent to the graveyard, we get to add a level 4 or lower wing beast, and she's here to help us protect our barrier statue, which we'll talk about later. I run the Smorg Bird of Perfection. This is just to help us get into link climbing. The Floowandereeze deck does not use the extra deck, but sometimes when you're in that 10% niche chance where you do need to get into a link to, Bird of Perfection will help us there. Of course, we have to run the Barrier Wind, Stormwind Barrier Statue. Essentially, when this card is on the field, your opponent cannot special summon except for Wind. And then the other 2 boss monsters, we have Rise of the Mega Monarch. He was an expensive card originally, but now he's dirt cheap. So Rise of the Mega Monarch allows us to bounce cards. And then we also have Mist Valley Apex Avian, which is an Omni Negate. And that is the general monster list. Next we have our hand trap lineup. we're going to be running 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. If you don't have a card in your graveyard, you can use Dimension Shifter's effect. And if this is essentially for your opponent, they will have to banish all their cards that they send to the graveyard. So think of it as like Royal Decree, but as a hand trap. I don't know if that's the right card. Don't. Just let me know in the comments. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This is essential for Branded Fusion. And then I am also running 2 copies of the DD Crow. DD Crow is an awesome card because it sends a card from the graveyard, it banishes it, and also you can always recurve this back through the effects of Street. And that's my monster lineup. The next set are the spells. We're going to start off with the Floowandereeze lineup. We got to run the triple copies of the Floowandereeze and the the Magnificent Map. Essentially, the map will help us get an additional normal summon. You run 3 copies of Floowandereeze and the Advent of Adventure. Essentially, Advent of Adventure helps us dodge card effects and gain us 500 life points. We also run 1 copy of the Floowandereeze and the Unexplored Winds. This will decrease how many tributes that we need. It's nice to run it, not really essential. And that is the entire Floowandereeze spell lineup. The next couple cards are for consistency. Of course, just to help us search for our field spells, we gotta run the Terraforming. It's an essential target. Everyone's hated card in this format is Mystic Mine. Usually you end your board with 1 M-Pen and a set Dreaming Town. Having this on the field is awesome because if your opponent controls more cards than you, this is the best thing that'll help you. Trust me. Of course, 1 L-boards, and I'll explain to you why we run L-boards in a later second. Triple Dark Ruler no more. This is just so that we, instead of your opponent sending it to the graveyard, just banish it all. Just more consistency pieces. Mind Control. This is actually Change of Heart, but I don't have Change of Heart, so I just opted for Mind Control. It's basically the same thing. Triple copies of the Pot of Duality. This is essentially draw power. We don't actually need the extra deck, so this is perfectly fine for this deck. And with that being said, I run triple Pot of Extravagance. I don't really need the extra deck. There is like a 10% chance where I actually get into there. When I tested this personally, I played about 20 duels and I've only touched the extra deck maybe 2 times. So it's a very low chance of you getting to the extra deck. So this is an essentially, this will help you draw more cards. You can run Pot of Prosperity, but honestly, I would just wait for it to be reprinted in the Megatons because I don't see myself spending $120 on a single card. Then I run 1 Dogmatica Punishment and then the Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. Dreaming Town's effect will allow us to normal summon during our opponent's turn, which is crazy! Yes, a deck that can play on your opponent's turn. You never heard about that. So that is the main deck. I believe this is 43, 44 cards. Extra deck. You can essentially put any cards in the extra deck. I personally tuned it for just in case events. I like to be prepared for stuff because you never know. So for the links, I'm going to be running 1 Relinquish Anima. This is basically Relinquish the Link monster, but you don't gain any effects. The Honorary Beast Salamangreat Almirage, just because. 1 Tri-Brigade Farigite. Farigite is an awesome girl. Just helps you draw cards. The BLS Link monster. This is just so we can whack people with. 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Ominous Omen. It's just another essential target. And then we also have Mechba, Elder Entity Entis, 1 Recital Sterling, the Dreadnought Cannon Combo, Cyber Dragon Nova, Gounder Magician, Lyrilisk Promenade Thrush, and Zeus. There are other cards that you can run, but this is mine. Personally, I really see me using the Xyz monsters more than the Links, so I just decided to dump them all out. Now, if you wanted to make the deck a little bit more expensive for the extra deck, you can always add a card called the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Essentially using Link monsters, 1 monster that your opponent controls, and at least 4 of yours. You get to essentially special summon her, and she's a pretty big monster that's untargetable. That is an option if you want to go that route. It just makes the deck a little bit more expensive. Again, I try to keep these decks as budget as possible, so this is that budget version. Now for the side deck, I'm going to be running triple Twin Twisters. Because this deck just sucks to back row, you need the back row removal. And of course, I got to run the dual copies of Raigeki. This could be Dark Hole, but I just choose the Raigeki because it's nicer. Harpy's Feather Duster, this is a common sense card. Triple Dimension Barrier is essentially here to stop our Despia dudes. That way they can't do Despia things, because we hate Despia. Nah, just kidding, I have a Despia deck. And then 2 copies of Harpy's Featherstorm. I keep it in the side deck because we never know what we're going to go against. And honestly, you can always sub a couple of the cards in here. Most likely like the Elbor's package and stuff like that. I run 2 Rivalry of the Warlords and 1 Evenly Matched. Honestly, it should be triple Evenly Matched, but I don't have 2 copies of Evenly Matched. So I did Rivalry and Evenly Matched just to make it a lot easier. As well as a Red Reboot. You guys gotta have the Red Reboot. Reboot that shiz. And anyway, that is the Floowandereeze deck. Any upgrades? Honestly, for the upgrades, you could always do Pot of Prosperity instead of Pot of Extravagance. As mentioned, you could do the Underworld Goddess, Closed World Chick, and that would be pretty much the only other additional things I would add to the deck. And yeah, so that is the Floowandereeze deck. Let's go right into a test hand so you can see the essential power that this thing brings. Alright, welcome to the combo video. I'm going to be showing you guys the one integral combo that all Floowandereeze players know how to do. And that's with this guy right here. Robina! Robina is your starter. So this is essentially what you need to do. So if you have Robina in your hand, you're going to normal summon Robina. Robina's effect will go ahead and trigger. Robina will search us a level 4 or lower Winged Beast monster. Now if this card does get ashed, you are boned and you can't normal summon. That is problem card text solving thingy. So if you get ashed, oh well. So assuming that you don't get ashed, you're going to go ahead and search the Eagle. Then Robina's effect will go ahead and trigger. Then you get to get an additional normal summon, and that's all the Floowandereeze monsters except the big birds. So Eagle's effect is going to trigger here. You're going to go ahead and search a level 7 or higher Floowandereeze. Most of the time your target is going to be the Empen, but if you already have Empen in hand, it can be a different card. For the sake of this combo, it's going to be Empen, and we get another additional normal summon. So we're going to tribute both Robina and Eagland, and instead of going to the graveyard, they get banished. So there they go. To tribute summon for Robina. We have to chain this like this, that way we get the Robina from the banished pile back. So chainlink 1 Robina, or not Robina, chainlink 1 Empen, chainlink 2 Robina. If it goes through, Robina will come back to our hand so that we can continue the plays next turn. And then Empen is going to search the integral trap card, Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. That is a card that you'll be setting, and that's your end board. Basically 1 Empen and the set Dreaming Town. Now on your opponent's turn, when they normal summon their monster, go ahead and flip over Dreaming Town, and you'll get to normal summon again, and you'll do the same combo again. But in that combo, so everything comes back. So I'm going to show you guys how that turn 2 looks like. Dreaming Town effect, you're going to normal summon Robina, chainlink 1 Robina, chainlink 2 Eagland. Eagland is going to return back, and then Robina's effect is going to search a level 4 or lower. It could be anything. Honestly, I just go for the Barrier Wind statue because it's important. And then you're going to go ahead and get your additional normal summon. Get your Eagland back on the field. Wow, there's 3 birds on the field. On your opponent's turn, jeez. And that's going to search a level 7 or higher. That could be Mist Valley Apex Avian, but if your opponent has a card already on the field, it's going to be Ryza. And then you're going to get your additional normal summon again. So, you're going to go ahead and tribute both Robina and Eagland to get Ryza the Mega Monarch. and Mega Monarch's effect will bounce a monster on field. It's going to be your opponent's normal summon monster and whatever else stuff that they set. So that's essentially what happens. And if your opponent does a breakthrough, M-Pen does negate attack position monsters, so they're kind of forced to put them in defense. If they special summon and attack, they just made a big oopsie. So essentially that's what your board looks like. It's just really slow, and I really know for sure that the Floowandereeze deck is more of trying to stun your opponent, and really you want to slow the game state to a point where you're controlling the speed and the tempo. And if you, as the Floowandereeze player, as long as you can control the tempo of the game and you can make your opponent's moves much slower, you have higher chance of winning. Just a couple of key thoughts on the Floowandereeze deck. It is essentially a really great beginner deck if you're coming back from playing Yu-Gi-Oh from the olden days, because it is only necessarily using the tribute summon mechanic, and a lot of old school players really just love the tribute summon mechanic. Most of the time, Floowandereeze is seen often in regionals, locals. You'll actually come across this deck many times. Before the Despia stuff came out, this was actually like a deck that you would see 50-50 representation. But this does have a really good ceiling. It has a really good path for the future, and honestly that's why a lot of people still don't like this deck. And I don't even see Konami ban. I don't see any future changes to this deck going forward, except maybe changing a couple of the extra deck monsters coming down the line. But I believe we have pretty much all the support for this deck. So if you want a deck that's really easy to play, this is going to be the deck for you. Of course, this version that I showed you is kind of somewhat more expensive, but this essentially is just the build that you want to strive for. The only other card that I'm for sure you might want to get into your deck is Set Rotation. That way you can give your opponent a garbage spell, field spell like Elbor's, and then you can either search Mystic Mine or the Magnificent Map. Anyway guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like, hit that comment. Let me know what you think about this deck profile. I personally am not a good pilot for this deck. I know that because I only like Link decks, so I'm not really a big fan of this deck. But let me know what you guys think about my Floowandereeze profile. I am open to making a couple upgrades, and let me know if you guys want to see this thing in action. I'll see you guys next time. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe, and let's go into the void. Peace.
Tippy top to the bottom of your soul. Peace and love and happiness is all that we should know. It's the conversation that I always leave alone. Poison dripping from the past.